Hello and welcome to the final episode of Game Picks for this NFL season, and it concludes with the Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, where the Los Angeles Rams are facing against the Cincinnati Bengals. And if I would have told you that at the beginning of the year, you probably would have told me, Austin, I think you've lost it. But that's the case that we are now, and both of these teams fought very hard to be here. I think both of them had not the easiest road in the playoffs to get here, and yet they still find a way to make it to the big game, and gotta tip your hat to them. And the funny thing is, Bengals, no one has ever sent a text before this year that the Bengals have won a playoff game. That was a meme going all around before the playoffs started, and they quickly put that to bed this year. And they doubled that and tripled that and quadrupled that to making themselves in the Super Bowl with a fantastic run. And been on the Bengals side pretty much all year long. I've picked them in a lot of these big games throughout the season. And when it came to the biggest of games, I lost my faith a little bit. And it hurt me a little bit in the standings for some of these games, but it is what it is. You got to go with your gut. And Bengals proved me wrong. What can I say? And then you have the Los Angeles Rams, who have added a bunch of star-studded players at the beginning of the year, throughout the year. And I think it's paying off for them, even with some losses like Robert Woods getting an injury. But that'll be more covered when I go over the game. But let's go quickly over to the leaderboards to give you guys an update on how the guys are doing. And yes, it will just be me this episode. I have some busy friends, and schedules don't align. It is what it is. But DJ remains on top, 187-97, and he had a pretty good playoff run. He had the most wins out of all of us in the playoffs, at least 4-2 in the wild card, 3-1 in the divisional round. Championship Sunday, he went 2-0, and I'm pretty sure he more than likely, possibly, might pick the right team. And if I had to bet money, like last week I said, he's probably going to go with the Bengals, but we'll go over that when it comes to the actual picking part. Steve is in second place, 183-101. The playoffs, aside from the wild card week, have not been favorable to Steve. 5-1 in the wild card, 0-4 in the divisional round, and then the conference 0-2. Tough one. But it leaves a slight margin for me to get in to possibly second place, tie with Steve. That would be awesome. And top half of the bracket isn't that bad, but if I can be right there, right, just a step behind DJ, that'll be great. Because I'm 182 and 102. Playoffs didn't have a losing week, which is great in terms of I didn't go completely wrong any of the weeks, but the divisional round and the conference championships were not the best, honestly, in my opinion. Then we have Chris 180-104, Matt 176-108, and then Eddie 172-112. That's how the bracket shakes out. Only movement we can have is me tying Steve for second. Aside from that, everyone's kind of set in their plot space right now. But just a quick little announcement. Next year for the 2022 NFL season, very similar to how we did it this year, more of a live in-person type of show. I definitely want to continue that. I will, if you can't tell, there's some moving boxes behind me and stuff. I am moving back down to South Florida. Hopefully can land a job there. Some interviews coming up soon. But if that's the case, I will definitely be on a recruiting type of tip in between the seasons. So stay on the lookout for that. But yeah, I really want to duplicate what I had this year with DJ and Chris in person, and having a really good kind of ambiance between whoever may be joining the show in the future. So if you're interested, let me know. But more down the line, just stay on the lookout for that. But yes, let's get to the big game. We have the Cincinnati Bengals, the home team for the playoffs, for the Super Bowl, against the Los Angeles Rams. And this one's a tough one. As I mentioned earlier, that these two teams fought tooth and nail to get here. No easy games throughout the entire playoffs, I think. Probably the first round of games for both of these teams in the wild card. Wouldn't say the easiest, but not so hard. And then it got tougher. Divisional round, it got tougher, close games. Conference, each game was decided by less than one possession, so that's crazy. So for the Cincinnati Bengals, we have one of the biggest storylines is Joe Burrow, having comeback player of the year after tearing his ACL in his rookie season, leading this Bengals team as a sophomore quarterback to the Super Bowl, and along with his buddy Jamar Chase, who ended up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. So just a lot of accolades for this team. But throughout the year, they've showed that they're contenders. They beat Kansas City Chiefs twice, one time in the season. That was in Cincinnati, and then they backed it up in the AFC Championship by defeating them at Cincinnati in the AFC Championship. Game-winning field goal in overtime. So, that's nothing to laugh at or anything like that. And Evan McPherson, I don't know if they recorded him saying it, but he probably said, hey, looks like we're going to Super Bowl when he went into the overtime kick. That would have been interesting. But then we also have the Rams who, at the beginning of the season, they traded away their franchise quarterback in Jared Goff and acquired Matthew Stafford from the Detroit Lions. And let me tell you, the trade paid off. They ended up in the big dance at home in SoFi Stadium. And it looks like Matthew Stafford is finally trying to get that monkey off his back in terms of having playoff success, because being in Detroit so long, maybe they could have gotten into the playoffs. They got into the playoffs a couple times, but now they're finally, he's finally in a game that is really important. This is the furthest he's ever been along in the playoffs. And then you also add Odell Beckham to the mix and Von Miller. Von Miller has won Super Bowl MVP with the Denver Broncos, Super Bowl 50. On the strip sack on Cam Newton. That was probably the biggest play that he's ever made in his career. And then you have Odell, who at the time, I wouldn't say a questionable addition, but this is kind of like, where does he fit? And then within the same week, Robert Woods tears his ACL. I mean, that was just kind of horrific for the Rams because they have the leading receiver in the NFL in Cooper Kupp on the other side. But finally, they got some gelling and they made the offense work. Von Miller looked a little old, but he's definitely finding his fit into the Rams' defensive scheme, and it is what it is. But this is the second consecutive year that the site of the Super Bowl and the home team that plays there is playing in it. Last year with Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. This year with the Rams at SoFi Stadium. Going into this game, they are a 4-point favorite, and definitely makes it a lot harder to pick this game when it's so close, at least in terms of betting odds and whatnot. But also, before I even get into picking it, what do you guys think of the halftime performers? That's going to be something that I think is going to be crazy. They have Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre performing, and I think it's just going to be a star-studded show. Big fan of hip-hop and rap, so it'll be interesting to watch. Safe to say, I'm not taking my eyes off the screen at all. Commercials, big-time plays, great halftime show. I think it's going to be a great show. But let's get into the pick. Now, no one aside from Steve, I believe, has made their pick. Steve is going with the Los Angeles Rams. Going into this, I really wanted to pick the Rams, and I'm leaning more towards that. But the Bengals, they've proved everyone wrong throughout their playoff run. And they've been proving everyone wrong all year long. So what does one more game matter, Throughout the playoffs, throughout the entire year, I was with them. There was obviously some of those games that I was like, hey, probably not Cincinnati's week. Maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong. But looking back at it, in the playoffs, I've been wrong about the Bengals. I thought they were going to do good, at least in the wildcard game. They did. That's fine. But in the divisional and the conference championship, they proved me wrong. And that's something that I enjoy because it makes it, you don't know everything. So, then you have the Los Angeles Rams, kind of like the team of destiny. They got to do it, They made all these moves, haven't had a first-round pick in forever, and, hopefully these trades pay off for them because they got to the Super Bowl 3 years ago, Super Bowl 53 against the New England Patriots, and only put up 3 points after having one of the most star-studded power offense in the NFL that year. Aside from them and the Chiefs, those were the two top offensive teams that year. This year, the Rams have been led by Cooper Kupp, and I think he could have a big performance in this Super Bowl. Last Super Bowl that they were in, he wasn't a big factor yet. I think this time it's different, and it's tough. I want to go. If I could go with both teams, I would. But for right now, I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Rams. I just think they have more of a type of destiny on their side. If I had to pick, if I had to see who the guys were gonna pick, I'd probably say DJ is going with Cincinnati because all those LSU boys, he loves it. And then you have Chris, who's probably gonna go with the Rams. I think Matt more than likely will go with the Rams. I think he likes Matthew Stafford. And then Eddie is probably going to go with Cincinnati just for the heck of it. But that pretty much wraps up the Super Bowl episode. And if you made it to this point, I really appreciate you guys for watching. And yeah, like I said, really looking forward to next year's game picks and what it has to offer. But we'll see when that time comes. But hopefully my pick pays out with the Los Angeles Rams. But you can't go wrong with either team here. That's the biggest point I've been trying to make throughout this entire episode is both teams are really good. And I'm really hoping for a good game, a close game. That's the biggest thing. I want a close game. It can be 0-0 all game long, but if it feels like it's really close, I would love that. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. And maybe we'll have a recap episode where we kind of go over who we picked in the beginning of the year to kind of be in the Super Bowl, win the divisions, all that stuff. Kind of get reactions from that. It should be interesting, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you on the next one.